Hey there, welcome to the channel. My name is Becky and this is Bria Makes Art, and today I wanted to do a quickie book review. At the beginning of the year, I started working through the George Bridgman's Constructive Anatomy book because I wanted to work on my anatomy skills, and I figured this would be a good way for me to work on that and fill up my sketchbook. I originally bought this book based on the recommendation of another YouTuber. I don't remember which one off the top of my head, but I bought this and a couple of other George Bridgman anatomy books, and I decided to start working through it at the beginning of the year, and I wanted to share my thoughts on the book to you so you know whether it makes sense for you to buy it or to hold off. The book itself has a lot of really nice illustrations in it, and I have to say that Bridgman is very good at drawing the human form in a very lifelike and realistic manner. There's a lot of energy and movement to the pieces that are in here, and I'm going to show you some for example. So here is a page full of a bunch of sketches of the human figure. Then this is a bunch of fingers. And there are different parts of the body. So here is the rib cage, etc. A lot of really nice illustrations in here. On the front it says with almost 500 illustrations. I believe that there are a lot of good illustrations in here. However, when I started working through this book, it was very difficult for me to understand what it was that I was seeing and understand what it was that I was reading. But this was written in a very technical manner and a very kind of obtuse manner additionally. Also, I think that the drawings could have stood to have a few more lines. I understand that you don't always need to draw all of the lines in order to get the idea across, but for me, using this book as something to help me learn anatomy, it was very confusing when there were missing lines. For example, this middle figure here is missing the lines that are connecting the torso to the legs, and it makes it very confusing about if I were to draw those lines in, where would they go, what kind of shape would they be, that sort of thing. And also it looked like it was wrong and that torso didn't belong to those legs. I believe that the torso does belong to the legs, but it wasn't super obvious where that line would be. Additionally, I was hoping that this book would help me understand how to break down the forms so that I could draw them more easily in any position. It doesn't really do that. It talks a little bit about using boxes and that sort of thing, but there aren't a lot of examples of showing here's the boxes and then here's adding the musculature on top. You can see in some of the sketches, you can see some of the boxes underlying, but it doesn't do it a whole lot. Additionally, it talks about things like, the twisting of the form. And for example, this third one here isn't super clear what they were trying to draw. So I don't understand how to read that and decipher how they're showing how the form twists. So there's a lot of kind of things like that made it really hard for me to understand what I was looking at. Like I said earlier, the writing is also a little bit obtuse or a little bit too technical. I'm going to read you a couple of little excerpts here so that you can understand what I'm trying to say. The short muscles of the hand, crossing only one joint, the knuckle, and moving the fingers individually, lie deep between the metacarpal bones and so are called interossei. And it goes on and talks about the interossei. Okay, that's great. I am not planning on learning all of the anatomical names for all of the bits of the body. I understand that a lot of people like to do that. That is not for me. And it also didn't help me understand how the hands are put together. There are some illustrations of the hands, but again, I don't think that they are done in a way that makes sense to me anyway. So for example, here is an illustration of the hand, and up here it talks about what each of those numbered things are, but it was a little bit hard for me to understand what part of the hand that was and how that would be actually visible in the hand with the skin and bones and muscles and everything on it. So that wasn't terribly helpful to me. Additionally, there was one other little bit that I wanted to read to you. There we go. The masses of the hand are two. The masses of the hand are two. One, that of the hand proper, the other, that of the thumb. The first of these is beveled from knuckles to wrist on the edge, from wrist to knuckles on the flat side, and from first to little finger from side to side. It is slightly arched across the back. And I think what this is just trying to talk about is like how the back of your hand is, and how like the edges are beveled, and like you get edges and, you know, bends and stuff like that in the back of your hand, but it is not written in a very clear manner or in a very modern manner, which makes it really difficult to decipher and understand, and it makes it really hard to read because the way that the language is not easy to read and understand. So I think that this book has value. I do not think that it has value for me right now. I think that there are a lot of really nice illustrations in here, and there's a lot of energy and things in the poses. But for me, as a beginner at anatomy, this is not the book for me right now. If you are a beginner at anatomy, I would highly recommend not buying this book and not using it just yet. There are, however, a lot of videos online of deciphering Bridgman's anatomy, and those were helpful. So if you do want to do it, go look for those videos and use those. My problem is that you have to use those in order to really understand this book. If you can find this book at the library, go get it, look at it, look through it. There are some really cool sketches in here. I have nothing against Bridgman as an artist. I do have something against Bridgman as an author. I don't think it is that great in terms of being able to understand anatomy as a beginner. So anyway, I hope that that was useful for you, and I hope you enjoyed this bonus video. The weather's been pretty crappy, so I've had a little bit of extra time this week in order to make a video, so you're welcome. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will still see you next week. I do plan on posting a video next week. So please give the video a thumbs up and think about subscribing. Thanks.